Pianoforte.
All right, folks, it's time for Shiny Side Out with David Dunger and Mecky. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Take it away, guys.
Welcome to Shiny Side Out with
Dave
and Mecky, live from the Sydney studios in Australia. You can jump into the chat room at freedomslips.com while we're on the air. You can listen from there. And also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Our website, shinysideout.net, has the show archives, notes, and links that we paste into the chat during the show. Very important stuff. Now, Dave knows exactly how you can listen to us. If you live in Kentucky, it is FM WZZR 101.3. Or you can get an app, Revolution Radio, TalkStream Live, TuneIn.com, Radio Tuner, Speaker.com, iHeart, Live 365, and our very own Shiny Side Out app. That's a lot of apps, guys. Now, if you're at home, you can listen on a Grace tabletop digital radio or driving around in a GM motor vehicle with a receiver-enabled radio. These are all revolutions in radio. At the moment, you can buy a CD of your favorite show for 2013. That's, of course, us, I hope. Each CD costs $30, and you can check out the info on the station's website. The number to call in, and we do take callers, if you're in the United States of America, is 347-688-2902. Or via Skype, which is a lot easier, simply add Freedom Screen, one word. Solaris, once again, had an awesome show. Thank you very much. Interesting guest, as always. Just a bit jealous that you get them all. Dave, how have you been?
Oh, pretty good, actually. Enjoying every bit of what I do.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah. You know what? Except for the flu, you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm a bit fluey, so bear with me. I hope to not make any disgusting sounds on
That's
air.
a good idea.
Yeah, I'll really try not to, but once again, apologies. The flu's getting around, so what can you do?
Yeah, you're right, it is, and it's just how it goes.
But other than that, I was really surprised to see some really cool stuff. Do you mind if I talk about some news?
Talk away, sir.
Awesome. Volcanism. Volcanoes and eruptions and things going on our planet right now. And something came to light, and I chased it down. I thought, oh, look, not everything that people post into Facebook is real.
It isn't? What?
What? No, come on.
That cannot be the truth.
I know, it hardly seems right, doesn't it? But you know what? This in fact is the case. So up till the 6th of June, was the mainland of India had not seen any active volcanism. None for 60 million years.
Is that right?
Just let's consider this for a second, right? All of a sudden, there is volcanic activity on the mainland in India, not Indian, but the neutralist nation.
With the dot.
That's a Maxwell Smart quote. On the 6th of June, a fissure opened in the grounds near the village of Gidea in the Kangra district of Himachal Pradesh state in India.
Okay, all right.
Flames, gases, and magma were spewing out of it's only tiny, a 4-yard hole in the ground. It's like a long slot.
Wow.
In the Indian Geological Survey, confirmed it's magmatic, meaning it contains magma, and it's real. It's producing lava that is coming from deep underground and has broken through the Earth's crust. Now, I'm going to paste the link in. It's really real. I'm not making this up. Yeah. And the story was in fact legitimate. There are springs, hot springs, but as Meki and I know, New Zealand hasn't seen anything, any volcanism for a long time. As far as magmatic volcanism, they've got hot springs and mud baths and extinct volcanoes. But if you're talking about extinct, what does it mean? Dormant is probably the best word.
I think you're quite right. Dormant. Extinct is misleading thinking. Oh, that'll never happen again.
Yeah. Well, it's you know what? It's not true. So they just go quiet for a while. Yeah, and it's quite possible that something could happen again. I put out some stuff. If you follow us on YouTube or Facebook or whatever it is you like to follow people on, Twitter even, you'll see that I posted some graphs this week on the Yellowstone quake frequency, intensity and depth, and also because I've seen some stuff coming out about the gas emissions recently. What I'm trying to find at the moment is the dome or the crater height. I've looked at a lot of documentaries. I've spent almost all week doing this, Meki.
Right.
20 inches since 1920 to about the 80s. 20 inches in height, and only 10 in the last 10 years. 10 inches again on top of that. It's risen in the last 10 years. Wow. So I'm trying to get this concrete information rather than just hearsay, so I can provide links. But these were in videos, documentary videos on Yellowstone. What's interesting about it is there is a significant increase, absolutely significant increase in the amount of eruptions at Yellowstone per year, and the depth, the magnitude of them on average, or the maximum, hasn't increased significantly, but the frequency has, and the depth has changed. So I think that's something interesting as well. I have some 41,000 entries of data. We're talking. This is big data, right, Mickey?
Yep.
We're talking big data, right? So I don't just have 1 year line for each year. I've sifted through it in a lot of ways, trying to glean more information than would seem immediately evident. But what I can see is that there's a huge increase. The depth is getting shallower, and it looks like something broke away. And Yellowstone might entirely be a possibility. And this thing blindsided me during the week. It was like a breath of fresh air to see that India has now got what looks like a fresh load of volcanism going on. Meki, one of the things that makes this real, makes it you and me, makes it real, makes it everyone's lounge rooms right now, or if you're just listening with headphones, in your brain right now, what makes it real is that geologic changes on Earth don't appear to be nice and slow. Yeah, there are slow ones going on, but the ones that created the biggest change were very, very pronounced, very quick, usually either meteorologically caused by impact or a sudden breakup of continents. It isn't something that suddenly there's a fire in the ground and everyone goes, well, let's taste some marshmallows and let's set up a city right next to this fault because it's not going to do anything. No. These are huge huge and all very quite sudden things. So to see these escalations in this kind of stuff within a lifetime is very fast as far as the Earth is concerned. Mickey.
And that's the thing. We had a show, actually a number of shows around this, guys, when we discussed the steady state theory that seems to be prevailing in geology today. That for long, like these changes take geological ages. Talking millions of years at times. We now have I think we've presented very strong evidence to the contrary. The things that you're seeing today as well are an indication that these changes can come about and will come about in a catastrophic fashion. Which explains why some of the other high civilizations which we postulate have existed before us were either caught maybe by surprise or simply weren't equipped to deal with that kind of catastrophe. Maybe they hadn't reached space travel yet, some of them, and maybe some had, and that's how they escaped, and so on and so forth. But the thing is, if Yellowstone were a real thing, Dave, and let's be serious here for a second. That would be catastrophic. It would not be an extinction level event, but it would be close enough. The blast itself would probably render North America uninhabitable, right, and kill tens of millions, I would imagine, immediately.
Yeah, immediately.
But the longer term.
Yeah, over the next 6 weeks, it would 100 million would perish easily.
Yeah. And then overall, we were probably looking at billions. And that's through what we call, not we, but generally what is called the nuclear winter. Yeah. Essentially, a large particulate matter or cloud would rise into the atmosphere and reflect the sunlight. So essentially, you have like a tinted windscreen, right? The sunlight doesn't come in; it's reflected back out into space, and which would lead to massive cooling. It would lead to massive dying off of plants, plankton, and so on and so forth. Yep. So, correct. And now I'm not saying it'll be again extinction for everything, but it will certainly set us back by thousands of years as the civilization, which I think has happened before. So this is not a new scenario we're going through here. This is why we got the flood myths. We spent a lot of time on that, and we could have talked about other catastrophes that exist in mythology as well. But it was the flood myth, which seems to have been coupled with a meteorite impact. That was the last one.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. It's scary stuff.
it's quite scary. And one of the things about it, I'm getting a bit of flaring off here. I've got to adjust my my chroma key. The scary part of it is that a meter of ash would cover pretty much 2/3 of the continental US. 2/3. A meter of ash on a roof of a house collapses the house. You'd be digging it off the roof like snow. And because it's the odd shape of each particulate, it stacks together quite well and won't collapse under its own weight very readily. So it builds up extraordinarily heavy because it's usually made of rock, and you can't breathe it in. It lacerates your lungs. Crops fail. Even if it was only clouding the US for a short period of time, it would plummet temperatures. You'd have huge. Meckie's displaying our lovely mugs. I've got a beautiful SSO top on. It's a Haynes. I love the product, Haynes brand.
Ooh,
very
quality,
thick,
very quality.
lined as well,
nice.
And it's branded with freedomslips.com on the back and Revolution Radio, and it's got a small SSO logo right here with shiny side out written beneath it. Very nice, very classy. So the impact globally around the world, as Meckie said, and it's true to say this, is that the particulates are heated more readily by the sun's energy because they're black. They rise greater into our atmosphere to greater heights, and they become a blanket. There'd be raining rocks and things like previous impacts. Burning rocks would fall down thousands of kilometers away. Everything within about a 2,000 kilometer radius of it would be wiped out pretty much instantaneously. Everything else would just die slowly. This is one of these big things. It's one of the big 6 events on the planet that could cause only life as we know it to be finished. It's not the end of the world, certainly not the end of Earth. Earth will just keep going. It's not before. But it's one of those things. And I wanted to just take this in a different direction and end up with one of your news stories, Meckie. And that is that to do with volcanoes, there's about 600 volcanoes on the planet right now, and between 50 to 70 of those actively erupting at the moment. We have Indonesia's one quite close to us, and it is going off. And the sunsets are beautiful, just at the right time. As the sun goes through that volcanic ash, it becomes a beautiful orange colour, even pinkish. And that's something else. So, it's something of the magnitude of both, like India. The last time India had volcanoes going off was in the Cretaceous period. Think about how far away that was ago.
Yep.
What I noticed this week was that the earthquakes seem to be in a line. Well, I'll do it for the camera. A line that way across the Earth. It was almost like the galactic plane magnetic field had ripped us, magnetically or gravitationally across a line. It was quite extraordinary. So, if you gather all this information, if you look at it long enough, you're going to see patterns. But I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to just bring the news to you. Meki, do you have a news story?
I have a it's a news story because at the moment our beloved Prime Minister Tony Abbott is in America. I think he might have actually left by now, but he was there this week, and he spoke to Obama and did a whole bunch of things. And by the way, I apologize to all Canadians. We in Australia, we know that you live in Canada and not in Canada.
Canada.
Yeah, that's what he thought.
That's so embarrassing.
I think I just watched a YouTube clip of him yesterday that someone sent to me, and he's giving George Bush a run for his money. I can tell you that. Okay, he's probably the dumbest. He is by far the dumbest politician we've had in a long time, and that's saying something. Now, so I do apologize to the world for his antics, but I wanted to direct your attention to the one thing that struck me. They were talking about gun control. Now, look, I'm sort of on the fence on the issue. I think guns are important for us as people to make sure that we retain our liberties and freedoms and so forth. Because the first thing that Stalin, Hitler, and all those guys did, they had guns registered and then eventually taken away from the populace. It never augurs well when the government takes away the guns. Now, on the other hand, though, I understand that guns in the wrong hands are a horrible, horrible thing. Okay. Mm-hmm. But having said that, once again, I believe that if you take guns away from the law-abiding citizens, the only people that will have guns are, in fact, the outlaws, the criminals, and so forth. I'm not sure that they would necessarily give their guns up. But be that as it may, but what was said though is that after the Port Arthur massacre, which was horrendous, and we're going to do a show on that, by the way. Let me mental note: show on Port Arthur. It said that no more gun-related massacres occurred. Now that is true. That is true. In Australia, we didn't have any mass shootings after that. However, I need to tell you what happened before then. Okay, people might think, it was just like America, where we have like 40, 50 shootings a year. No, not at all. So I want to quickly take you. I'm going to start in 1971 because, believe it or not, between 1928 and 1971, there was not a gun-related massacre in Australia that has been recorded.
Really?
Okay. Nope, not a one. And the ones before 1928 were all pretty much committed on Indigenous Australians.
Ah, yes.
Okay. So the killings that were recorded here were on Aboriginal peoples, for the most part, prior to 1928. So in 1971, it's the Hope Forest Massacre. 10 people were killed, and it was done by Clifford Bartholomew, who shot dead 10 members of his family. 10 members of his family. Horrible, right? Now, bear with me here. There's a theme. 1981, 10 years later. 10 years later, okay? Kempsey murders. Fouad Daoud, that's his name, shot dead 5 members of his family before killing himself. 5 members of his family. Wahroonga murders. In 1984, John Brandon shot dead 5 members of his family before killing himself. Milpara Massacre, that was actually a gang-related shooting, or that was a shootout. 7 people dead, 28 injured. The bikie thing in 1984, same year. So that wasn't a rampage killing where somebody goes into a crowd. This was a a shootout between two rival motorcycle gangs. So, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Okay. 1987. This is probably more like it, but this is probably more like a mass murderer. Joseph Schwab, over a 5-day period, killed 5 people and was eventually shot dead by the police. 1987 as well. The Hoddle Street Massacre, which killed 7, and was a spree shooting by Julian Knight. Okay, so we're in 1987, 2 in that year. In fact, there was a 3rd one and a 4th one in 1987, interestingly enough. 87, we also have John Tran, who shot dead 5 members of a family. Okay, again, we can assume that he knows in Kennelly Vale, which is in fact right near where I live, believe it or not.
Oh.
Queen Street Massacre in 1987 as well. A spree shooting and suicide that killed 8 by Frank Vitkovich. So in 1987, we had 4. This was the most we've ever had in a year. Not 40 in a year, or 50. 4. 1987. That was the worst. The next one is in 88. And again, Dennis Rostron killed 6 members of his family. 6 members of his family. Okay. Surrey Hills in 1990. Okay. Paul Anthony killed 5 people with a pump-action shotgun at a public housing precinct before surrendering to police. Okay. Strathfield Massacre, 1991.
I know someone from
killed
that one.
7. Yep. Oh, that's horrible, actually. Killed 7, and Wade Frankham committed that. Central Coast Massacre, 1992. So we're back to 1 shooting a year. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm saying it's not 40 a year. Okay. And this was 6 people were killed in Terrigal by Malcolm George Baker. Then we've got the Kangai Siege in 1990. Is it?
Yes.
Now, this is 3 people, which is unusual. So Leonard Ledbeater, Robert Steele, and Raymond Bassett went on a 9-day rampage, which killed eventually 5 people, and it ended in a farmhouse at Hanging Rock Station in Kangai. 1996, 3 years later, Hillcrest murders. Again, Peter May, who shot dead 6 members of his family before killing himself. Then, in 1996, we have the Port Arthur Massacre in Tasmania, which killed 35 people and wounded 24. Now, everything up to here, while any death is deplorable, okay, we have the most we had in a shooting was 10. 10 people had been killed in a shooting. This was the first and only mass shooting that is comparable to what's happening in the United States. The Port Arthur Massacre. 35 people shot dead, 24 wounded. Now, we will have a show on that, but I'll tell you that it is highly unlikely, in my opinion, and I've seen a military analysis of the shooting, that Martin Bryant, in fact, was the shooter. And I'll tell you why, just very quickly, very quickly. So Martin Bryant was meant to have killed 35 people and wounded 24. Most of the 35 were killed with 1 or 2 shots to vital areas, head or chest, right? 1 or 2 shots. This wasn't indiscriminate spraying of bullets. So targeted, pinpoint accuracy shooting. Then he was cornered after that had happened. He was cornered in his cabin and had a shootout with the police. And scores, if not hundreds of rounds were fired, and he didn't hit a single police officer.
That's right.
Not a one. Not one. And this is a guy who displayed incredible skill with a gun, especially in stressful close quarter conditions. Anyway, that's all I want to say about that at this point. After that, it is true that there were no gun-related mass shootings. What we have now is the killing of choice, or the method of choice, is arson. We had 3 horrible arson attacks, which altogether killed 36 people between 2000 and 2011. Okay, both houses that were burned down, as well as bushfires, which were lit deliberately by some arsonists. So I just want to be very clear here that the Port Arthur shooting was extremely out of character for Australia. I'm not saying, that's a good thing or a bad thing. I just want to highlight the trend and the very odd nature of this particular shooting, which was in kind very much what America is used to, I guess. With certainly with numbers of people killed.
Yes, and when you say used to, we've seen since Columbine.
Oh, well, and before, in fact.
Yeah.
But yes, no, you're right. Having said that as well, you need to realize that most of the shootings that I just read out to you were inter-family shootings. Okay, the vast majority was people killing members of their own family before taking their own life. Now that could indicate psychological problems, but not a lot of shootings that were unmotivated rampages, just when people just seem to snap and go postal, as we say, and shoot complete strangers. Okay, so we in Australia we just didn't have that kind of culture, or shooting culture, if you will, right? So, and it's a scary thing. But my point still stands. It is a shooting that was out of the ordinary, and it was used. In fact, that was the linchpin that brought in the gun control laws
by John Howard.
John Howard brought in. Okay, that was it. After that, because they had been trying before to bring gun control in, and it didn't work, and so they needed an event like this. To bring, in my opinion, to get that law through and get the guns controlled. In America, it has failed to do, and I do believe there are people directing this effort. As horrible as this may sound, but if you're familiar with 9/11 and Oklahoma bombing and all these wonderful things, you know what the government is capable of, and or is capable of allowing to happen, even if they don't have an active hand in it. So having a few people killed by a shooter to further your gun control is not really a big price to pay for those kinds of people, because you have to understand they don't think like us. They don't think in the same terms. Okay, and they certainly don't care about individual human lives the way you and I might. It's just not in their nature. Okay, you have to actually let that go. And I want to give you a very quick example because Dave has got a very interesting story he wants to share with us. Now, this is it. We have lost my train of thought. Is what we have. Help me out, Dave. I was going somewhere with this. We're talking about shootings, and then I made a reference to you.
And you lost your train of thought.
I lost my train of thought.
Going.
And then I was going. So the point is that these people. The corporate world. You can only succeed in the corporate world, and this is a very simple example, but it goes to show where this kind of thinking leads. If you have a certain personality, so corporations themselves have been diagnosed as being psychopaths, right?
That's correct.
They're sociopathic, psychopathic personalities. There's a study. So people that are of that particular personality skill do well in that, right? Because you have to fire people. You have to fire people, and you can't get to you, right?
You can't care about
most people. Yeah, you can't care about it because it'll eventually eat away at you, because you're thinking about the person and the impact on their life, but you have to think about productivity and making money, so it's a hard thing to do for most. Yeah, it is easy though for people that are psychopaths because they don't care. Now, do you know why the Germans took over concentration camps, or took on the idea of concentration camps from the British? I'll tell you why. Because they tried to kill the undesirables in those days was communists and homosexuals and Jews by shooting them. And so they dug these mass graves and shot them with a machine gun. But they did that in the East, and it was found, or the psychologists found at the time, that it was actually detrimental to the German soldier. The Germans weren't built that way. They still had morals and a certain philosophical outlook, and they were religious. So shooting people en masse in that fashion actually damaged them. So they suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. At least that's what we call it now. That's why they depersonalized and removed the killing of these undesirables, as they termed them, to the concentration camps by gassing and various other forms, but mostly by gassing. And then, in fact, it was never the German guards that were there. It was the chambers were emptied by the prisoners themselves. The prisoners also brought the bodies to the ovens to burn. It was never the Germans or the German soldiers that were guarding the camp that were doing that, because the Germans understood that this kind of psychology was not inherent or was detrimental to those people. I'm not saying everybody, but the vast majority. So that's why that was adopted. So for us as well, bear in mind that these people that move up in the corporate world usually make it into politics as well, at least in the States. Look at your government under Bush. In fact, look at any of the people that are in the cabinet now. For the most part, either they never had a real job or they came out of the corporate world, which means they can do the things that you cannot, which is judge harshly and execute without mercy. And I mean execute any order or any program. All right, so that was my point. Sorry, but Dave has got a very interesting story about the Northern Territory U.S. bases, Dave. Right?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry. I had
Right.
two phones on my desk, both ringing at the same time. And,
Right.
Anyway, so yes, look, I knew this would segue somehow into that, and our Prime Minister has just been traipsing around the planet, ignoring climate change at the G20, and then going to meet Barack Obama in his own land, so he can get those private words that maybe Joe Hockey had heard when he went over in the first week and came back thinking the whole world was going to end in 5 minutes, and got a bit desperate with money. The thing is that the US, and I've followed this for the 2 years the show's been running, which is really interesting, and that is America's push into this military theatre. The military theatre around China in particular, and Russia for that matter, but particularly cutting off China's access to stuff. Now, unfortunately, we trade with China quite a bit, as does every other country. But what the US they've just declared this week, that base in the Northern Territory in Australia is going to be built. They're going to be a US base finally declared to be in the Northern Territory. It's going to be built. It's going to house more than 2,500 US troops. They didn't give an estimation greater than that, but they said more than. Then they said also that in a different story, and I've went through a number of stories to get the detail, and they said that the missile shield will also be installed there that will protect Australia from inbounds. Now, given that there's only a 5 minutes, that's all you get these days, ballistic missile, ICBM, say, trajectory, from detecting the smoke plume through to it impacting, you've only got 5 minutes, which means you've got 2.5 minutes before you must launch an attack. And they've got also in the warhead splits into 40, and 20 also of those are decoys. So that you might be shooting down a decoy, and that didn't make any difference to your ultimate destiny. So missile shield is being installed. There's US base now going to be installed. The US troops are going to be here. We know we were buying troops. The US push into this region to surround China is still under full swing. And yet this was a little tiny story. It's tiny, Mickey. But I had to scrounge to find this in other countries, more detail on what was going on.
Yeah. This is actually a very worrying development. We are seeing increased presence, military presence, U.S. military presence in the Pacific. I mean, they've always been interested, don't get me wrong, but having these large bases now with a rotational, thousands of Marines coming in through on a rotational basis, permanently posted, in addition, of course, to the bases in the Philippines, Japan, and now in Central Asia. So China is being surrounded, if you will, by America. And I really don't want to get into the middle of that, to be honest with you.
No, I don't want to be part of. But we're now part of it. This is the thing. We know that we have military strategic targets. These are high value targets as far as preventing retaliation towards an invasion force. We have targets here. We all do. Everyone does. So if someone wanted to launch an actual assault on us on the ground, boots on the ground assault, yeah, we've got military targets that they want to target first, and that makes sense, yeah? But to put something like this in place makes us a greater target. So does having anything. If we only had pitchforks, it would be tougher for them to find an excuse to nuke anyone. So I just think that's a bit dangerous. And look, I want to take this to something that's positive, Meki. Tesla Motors.
Please.
Tesla Motors.
Yeah.
We all big fans of Nikola, the super genius that gave us everything we have today. almost a king in technology. Yeah.
Yep.
Tesla Motors have now given all of their patents to the public, to public domain. And that's extraordinary. World first. They have the ability to only create 100 million vehicles per year themselves. And they've said, do you know what? If we're going to make this planet different, you need to do this yourselves. All of their patents are now public. Knock yourselves out. I saw them being posted on Facebook, for crying out loud. I mean, that's something else. So they stated in a press release, they said all our patents now belong to you. We believe that Tesla and other companies making electric cars and the world would all benefit from a common, rapidly evolving technology platform. And I've just posted into the chat room, Meki, which I think you'll find interesting too. I'll put it into our chat. Is the list of those patents, which you can now download.
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah,
awesome.
But do you have the list of the things that are still under lock and key?
No, I don't. But these aren't Nikola Tesla's ones. These are the Tesla Motor Company, who, if you want to make an electric motor, I'd use their patent, to be honest. Much more efficient. There's two other stories. One is that I think that's a revolution on its own, that a company would dare to do that, given there's 2 billion motor vehicles out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 billion people, 2 billion motor cars, and they want to make a difference. The only way to do that is get it out there. I think this equates to the IBM clone PC.
Yes. Well, think about it though. If they didn't do that and didn't release the patents, right? The two possible outcomes here. Number one, they get bought out by whomever, right? Whoever can afford it, and it will be threatened by this development, or they will be done away with in a similar fashion to what happened to the guys on MH on the Malaysian airline flights.
Oh,
okay,
segue.
so
I smell a segue. There was, I think, 7 planes that disappeared for 15 minutes this week in Europe. Did you read that one, Meki?
So, I actually heard about that. Yeah, that was very odd, wasn't it?
Yep. So they disappeared and then came back online again. Who knows? Maybe that technology is now being carried by operatives. Maybe it's small enough. Maybe you can just turn it on and whoop, there the plane disappears.
Yep.
So that would be
if that were true, let's say that could we then see more of this? I mean, this was a test case to see how many people you can make disappear at once, or in an area. Maybe there's going to be an event, let's call it.
Yep.
that is going to trigger something. I mean, who knows? I mean, it was the sinking of the Lusitania. It was the 9/11 bombing. It was the burning down of the Reichstag. It was also the shooting of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the shooting of Franz Ferdinand. I mean, these trigger events, these that lead to false flag or black flag operations, are varied and always take people by surprise, more or less.
What was it? Who died this week? Rothschild, was it?
Oh, did the Rothschild die this week? No, I don't know about that. Did they?
Yeah, that's what I think. And also,
okay.
a Rothschild's girl went missing in a park, in a national park. I think that was...
In a national park? Oh, in America?
Yeah, Paul Laurides posted that one, which is really interesting. That in the same week, it looks like they might be being threatened or being taken down or something. Maybe there's a hostage, because he owns the patent now for MH370 technology, the Freescale technology, Meki.
I did not know that.
Does that not weave something very interesting into it?
Absolutely.
Rothschild.
Very interesting. What I did find, just while we're at it, I did find this was from February 7th, 2014. The 4th Rothschild banker found suicided. I think we covered this when it happened. Do you remember?
Yeah.
All the bankers that were killed back then? Oh, sorry, they committed suicide.
That's right.
Right. So maybe something is going down that we just don't know about, right?
Yeah, suicide, right? So maybe someone took them out. Maybe someone's been taking them out. So yeah, I just think
Yes.
that should be taken into account. Maybe they've been threatened, you know.
Well, you don't take on the Rothschilds willy-nilly.
Not
You've got to be
really.
insane. You've got to be insane. You know what's odd? My video keeps switching itself off, man.
Oh, I just noticed that. Hey, Neki, the
That's very
last
strange.
news story. Last news story.
Please.
2 large planets found outside Pluto.
Wow.
Now, when the headline is slightly different from the headline in the news article, which states the word
Right.
may. But it's Spanish scientists say, this is in newscientist.com,
Right.
2 giant planets may cruise unseen beyond Pluto. The Spanish scientists declare that perturbations they're actually saying it. They're saying that there might not be one, as in just a few months ago, NASA said, "Oh, we think there is one." Now they think it's actually 2 because of the perturbations. So that's something else. I think that's extraordinary. And they're saying giant planets, not little tiny things that may be declared a dwarf planet.
Not planetoids we're talking about. We're not talking about little
planetoids,
meteorites.
No, siree.
No. Okay, good.
Look, that ends my news.
That's fascinating. There's one thing I'd like to say in a general thing, which I find personally horrendous. But thanks for bringing all of that news to us, Dave. Always fascinating stuff. I want to appeal to the people in India that are committing these horrendous crimes against women to please stop doing that. You are. I mean, this is now the 3rd girl that was attacked and then hanged in a couple of weeks. Now this is just horrific. It is horrific. I know there are a lot of horrible things in this world, but this we can avoid. Please, is my appeal to humanity here. Do not do these things. This is. We will never ever get out of this quagmire. This world, we will never make this a better place if we keep doing this kind of stuff. All right, we don't have to be like this. The elite, who makes us that way, who wants us that way, doesn't have to win. And this is where we start, right? We jump over our own shadows. Okay, we step over our own prejudices and move ourselves away from those. I understand why these things happen. I understand. Well, intellectually, I understand it. I don't understand on an emotional, physical, or psychological level. I don't, but I understand intellectually, and I know that there's certain traditional things and frustrations and all those wonderful things that the elite gives us. Do not give in to that. Do we have very many people listening from that part of the world, Dave? I'm not sure, but if you are listening, do not get involved in those kinds of things. And sometimes it's like a mob mentality. Yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't run with the mob. Don't run with the mob. Oh, I was just marching along. Yeah, you're just marching along. That's nice. Yeah, he was a Jew. I told everybody. I think I've shared this poem with you. I want to share it with you again. Sorry too. I have to, Dave. Okay, this was written by a German after World War II. And here I go. When they came to take the communists away, I did not say anything. When they came to take the homosexuals away, I did not say anything. When they came to take the Jews away, I did not say anything. When they came to take me away, there was nobody left to speak up. Okay? That's what that is, guys. Anyway.
Yeah, it's awful. I keep seeing those stories come out and even pictures of it in unfiltered news, and it's,
It's horrific.
Yeah, why? Yeah, so it's been an enormous week. That's all I can say.
Yes, very interesting.
And we had Friday the 13th. We had 3 X-class flares. Not on Friday the 13th, but leading up to it. The sunspot is coming past us at the moment. Hopefully, there wasn't. It's right on the equator too. Which, if it burst now, we'd have an issue on our hands. But let's hope it doesn't. This is the kill shot. and I'm following the
Well,
kill
yeah,
shot.
yeah.
If you YouTube kill shot and enjoy yourself, for a while watching that. I've been watching the World War III lead up triggers and all the people's opinions around the world and what that would mean and how would we get there. And do you know what? It's that false flag event that I keep waiting for. And now the word that Iraq is now requiring more military intervention.
Yeah,
Again.
yeah. I mean that was the latest development. I'm going, but the thing is this: if you are a student of history and politics, you understand what happened there. Because as soon as Saddam Hussein went, I said to people, "Look what happened at Yugoslavia. Look what happened to essentially to Russia as well, but Yugoslavia specifically. As soon as Tito died, the country will break apart because you have three segmented regions within Iraq. You've got in the north, you've got the Kurds, then you've got the Sunnis and the Shiites making up the two remaining bits down south. And as soon as you take the strong governing force away, I mean, you can say what you want about strongmen in power, they keep the country together, and they do provide some level of, I guess, security and stability. Now it's horrendous to live under those people, yes, but more people have been killed since the American intervention in Iraq than under all of Saddam Hussein's leadership. Okay, that's a fact. I mean, you can twist it and turn it any which way. And now the country it hasn't stopped. It's imploding. Okay, it'll keep going until there are three separate states, in my opinion. Okay, there'll be a Kurdish state to the north, which potentially will make territorial claims on Syria and Turkey as well, and that would be bad. And then you've got the Sunni and the Shiite states potentially that make up the rest of Iraq. I mean, it's poised to happen, which will further destabilize the region. Further intervention? I mean, the Americans should have learned something.
Well,
you can't really win. Right? I mean, well, yeah, maybe I am. And I certainly don't want Australian troops to be committed there either. Because what are we fighting for here? Well, we're trying to stabilize the country. Well, we did a bang-up job of that in the first place, didn't we? No, we didn't. No. It was horrible. We did a horrible job.
I'd say,
let's
say
not.
2 words: stand down.
Stand down. Yes.
Let them do what they
want.
Yes,
at some point. Well, this is terribly callous. But yeah, at some point you have to draw a line and say, look, I mean, if you want to really go far back, you have to really go to World War One. And see why the Middle East is in the mess that it's in. Okay, you can go back further, but I think World War One is the origin for most of current day conflicts in that region. Not just there, but and yeah, that's right. And thank you, Dave, for reminding me. He just pinged me on that. We are now in Australia. When I say we Australians, in Australia, we have now decided to say that the West Bank is no longer occupied, and the settlements.
Don't look at us. It's the government doing this, not us.
Yeah, the settlements are no longer illegal settlements in occupied territory. No. I can't remember the term now.
I can't remember
that
it
they're
either.
using,
I'm googling it as we speak, Mickey.
Yeah, but it's no longer occupied. Well, yes, it is. In 1948, when Israel was proclaimed as a state,
disputed, not occupied.
Okay, so disputed, that just means, well, we're not quite sure who it belongs to, but we sure as hell aren't occupying it. Well, guys, you are. I'm sorry, you are. If all the people on this planet, you should know better in Israel. You should know better. What you are doing is you're committing genocide, more or less, and you're creating an enemy that will never ever go away. That's just silly. Silly, right? It's really important to take a step back and look at history, guys, because nobody's going to win here. Nobody's going to win. It was Palestine for 2,000 years. 2,000 before that, there was no real state of Israel. I mean, but yeah, everybody lived there, and this was called that, and this was the land of Ur and the land of Shat and so forth. Yeah, sure, whatever. The point is that unless we learn to live together, nothing will happen. And now Australia's taking the step of saying, it's not occupied, it's disputed.
No,
which means
they're saying now it's like militarily occupied. You shouldn't be there. You're occupying someone else's space. I think that was the quote. Or I can't remember now. But we've changed
No, that's
our
what it was
stance.
before.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we changed our stance from occupied to disputed.
Which means that now we're on the Palestinian side of that two-sided fence.
Actually, I saw we have to do a bit more research here, guys, because
Yeah.
I read it the exact opposite way.
Oh, really?
But that's what that's yeah. So
Because
let me just double check that.
Okay, because my point of view on this one was when I heard the news story, I figured that we were opposing everybody else's view that Israel should have some right to it. And now now it seems as though we don't. We've taken the opposite view to suggest that maybe Israel shouldn't be there. That was what I heard, and that's a big shift.
Because the UN stance has always been that these are illegally occupied territories. That was the UN stand all along.
Yeah. And,
So they think Israel should not be in there. That's the official ruling. I think it was a UN resolution, something or other. I can't remember which one it was. But anyway, look, we do some more research and we'll come back to you guys. Because that's the joy of live radio. We get interesting discussions amongst ourselves as well.
Becky, that's another one of those things, because if you're going to start declaring sides at this time in the world conflict that we're looking at, no one did anything about the Ukraine annexing to Russia.
Correct.
No one did anything.
Correct.
Syria, no one's really acted on that once they got the warning from China and Russia to stand down. What has changed? Suddenly, nothing except for Iraq seems important to anyone. If just a couple of rebels are taking over, Iraq, big deal. Who cares? They're marching. They're marching violently. But what about a whole country annexing another half country? What? When was that allowed last? Right before World War II.
Yes.
So, think about the times when if people are now calling sides.
Go on.
If people are calling sides, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying I think I smell, sides being called. I smell that people are, polarizing on the planet, and we might be staring at something. Yep.
And that's the thing. Something's brewing. We're not living in a static society, not in a static civilization. Things as they are now will not last forever. Just be aware of that. Make the mental adjustment, guys. Okay, otherwise it'll crush you. I know this firsthand because my family went through 2 world wars and they have lots of stories. And what it takes to survive is to let go of everything and just keep going. Okay, if you have to, at times. And just roll with the punches. It's okay to fall down, my grandmother used to say, but you have to get up. You have to get up. Always get up. And I think that's very, very true. And maybe we've lost this will. Because these days, and I don't want to rant on the millennials or Generation Y. There is no entitlement, guys. The world doesn't owe you a living, and not everybody can be a rock star. All right, Grow up. I'm sorry, I really am. Okay. We all have to wake up and smell the coffee sometime. But again, by the same token, we create our own reality. Maybe we should move away from the corporate cage we're in, right? And from the things that bind us to it, which is in fact the theme of our show this week and last couple of weeks. A week before that, we had. Of course, Laura Eisenhower, but we've now. This is now the third show on shirt. It's the third show that we have on money, the fiat money system and fractional reserve lending, the history of money, in fact, and how money is controlling us. Money is controlling us. I don't care which way you twist this. I don't care what happens, but we are living in a cage, in a golden cage that was built out of the imaginary money we use every day. All of us, we're using it, and we don't put much. See, but Dave, we don't put much thought into it, right? We just use money because we want to buy stuff, right? There is, and we take it as read that you have to go to work to get it, or you have to do something to get it. I mean, you could be a bank robber, but nonetheless, we all seem to agree that we need money. Yep. And the petrol. Yeah. Oh, look, there are massive increases in tax for us. In here in Australia, the petrol tax, right, Dave? I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah, the petrol tax itself is crazy, right? And effectively, I came to the conclusion that what they're actually doing is just charging us per kilometre for travel. It's a per kilometre travelling tax because we use vehicles that have a certain range per kilometre. per litre of fuel.
Yep.
And by increasing, a tax on it, it's basically just charging us to travel. That's it. If we were buying that from a third party who none of that money went to the government, maybe just as income tax or something, that would be completely different. But when the government takes a tax hit off your purchase of something, then they're charging you for it. And I think that's appalling. And it was he admitted that our beloved Prime Minister admitted that in the US during a private discussion with Obama, and said, "I said, what are you doing about climate change? Oh, we get a petrol tax. Yeah, it's awesome. That'll affect emissions."
Yeah, of course it will. What? Oh, dude, it's crazy. It really is nuts.
It really is. But, Meki, we're right at the top of the hour. We're just about to go to a break. I'm going to donate money. I'm in the chat room right now, and I'm going to push the donate button.
Believe it or not, I was going to do the very same thing before the show started, Nighthawk, and I realized I have to have a PayPal account. Now I don't have a PayPal account, so I couldn't donate the money I wanted to donate. So I now have to go and get a PayPal account. So everybody out there, if you want to donate money, get a PayPal account. Okay, that's just something that you need to do. Most of you, I'm sure, have it. I'm just not too up to date with internet commerce, I guess.
If you don't have one, I think there's an address you can send a check to if you're interested in doing so. But please support the station. And I'm pushing my donate button right now. I'm making a one-time donation. There are other different ways that you can do it. You can also subscribe monthly, say $10 a month. But we implore everyone to do this. It's a great station, brings great info. Please get on board. And
yes.
Don't just do it for us, because we don't get the money for it. If you want something to come to us, buy a CD. Buy a CD from the station. Yeah? Watch the YouTube clips, but don't go click past the ads. Let the ads play. We get a couple of cents. We get like half a cent or something, right? Yeah, look, we're living in a commercial... This is why we're doing these shows as well, especially this cycle now. We're living in a commercial reality. So Nighthawk has to pay the bills. It is that simple. All of the hosts are doing this for free. We don't get paid. We don't really... I mean, getting paid is nice, but we do this because we think it's necessary. Dave and I certainly believe that the other hosts as well. We do it because we have some information we want to share with you, and we believe that nobody's asking the questions that we ask, and it's not bringing the information that you need to see. We could be wrong in some cases, absolutely, but at least you get a choice of making your own decision here with our view on things and some of the information that we bring you. So therefore, please support the station, and it's only we are only one of many shows on this particular station. We only have 2 hours a week, sometimes 4. And it is really important that it is supported, because it is for you, the listener, the audience. I mean, this is all for you. We're not creating a product for a corporation, which is normally the audience. That's what TV does, or commercial radio. Our product is the information. That's what we're giving you guys. Okay, and you don't become a product that way. We're not trying to sell you anything. We're not trying to sell your listening to us to anyone else. There's no on-selling of our listenership. That's right.
So think about that, right? Think about that. This is true information sharing. And sure, we get things wrong. That's why you're there, or you're checkers. But it is almost the last free medium left, where you're not bombarded with the commercial reality that we live in. Okay, there are no ads here unless they're station ads. And then we're not asking you to drink this soft drink, or eat that fast food, or buy that car, or live in that house, or buy those clothes. We don't. So this is just stuff, and we hope that you like it.
So, we'll see you after the short break. Make the donation, and by the way, you can just use your credit card or debit card if you want.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
There is no denying the world is awakening. We see it in the global uprisings and demonstrations of the people around the planet and the new way of thinking and living that is arising naturally within each one of us and our communities. I have been a major player in this global shift and movement for over 20 years and have helped tens of thousands of people around the world change their lives and find their voice in order to help create the paradigm change we so desperately need. Join me here at Revolution Radio on the Just Bernard Show every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time for 2 hours of powerful interviews and discussion with some of the most influential visionaries of consciousness, alternative media, and suppressed knowledge. We promise to reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience.
Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. If you plan to call in and speak with one of our hosts, please turn down your radio and separate yourself from any background noise and wait for the area code to be called on before you speak. And don't forget, Revolution Radio freedomslips.com is listener supported. So stop by the homepage, freedomslips.com, visit the site support area to help support the host you're listening to's airtime. Thank you. Revolution Radio freedomslips.com, where the truth never sleeps. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
You're back with Dave and Mecky's Shiny Side Out on freedomslips.com. That's right, the #1 listener supported talk radio on the net, as Hawk said. Since it is listener-funded radio, I hope that you made your donation during the break like I did. I donated $10. And push the donate button yourself on the site support page. It's on left-hand chat. Your donation is greatly appreciated. It helps run this station. Yes, help support our airtime. I'd like to say hello to all the new listeners. I notice we have some people in Israel, believe it or not. We're really sorry about the way that our government has depicted your occupation of that site, or the disputed area. We'll get to the bottom of that. And also Ireland, I forget all the countries now. It's absolutely crazy how many countries now are listening to us live and have downloaded our application. Please download it. We send out messages whenever we can through that application, as well as you being able to listen to it wherever you are, in your car, at work, at home, without having to be at your computer. So if you've got a smart device, you can do that. I'd like to say we are halfway through show number, and it still does my head in, Mickey, and I'm waiting for you to describe the number in your fashion. Show 120. Fiat
20 and 100.
Fractional lending. 20 and 100
yes,
indeed.
Sir.
So.
Absolutely.
Where on earth were we up to? This is part 3, isn't it?
Well, this is part 3. Yes, we discussed with you guys the official terms, the meaning of fiat currency, fractional reserve lending, how the bankers see it, and the problems with it that are even admitted to by the economists. Right. So that's show 117 and 119. In between, as I said, we had Laura Eisenhower. I do urge you to listen to that show. A very interesting I did because I wasn't there. So I found it fascinating. So thank you, Dave. That was an excellent interview. As always, of course. Now, okay, so today we're going to share with you the insights that I found on the web. A very, very, very good history of money website. I don't think we'll get through it today, but that's okay. We have next week and potentially the week after if we need to. But this is a person that has taken a lot of time to put this information together, and Dave and I would not dream to take credit for something. Obviously, I mean, we will give it our spin and give you some more insights into certain specific things. But rest assured that the majority of the research was done by, and I will give you the name in a second, by the gentleman that put this together. Right? So
it was put together by the gentleman who put it together. Yep.
Yes. Well, no, hang on. I will tell you who. Well, here we go. All right, that's it. Now I've got it. And he did a fantastic job. It really is an astonishing feat. Here we go. All right. This is the history of money. Okay, and let me just go to the gentleman's name, and it gives you the background. It gives you a background of all the things that have gone wrong as well. And we've spoken about the banking wars in the States. And I will. It's actually z.org. Okay.
Mekki, just
the history
wait,
of money.
Wait one sec. I'm going to tell you something while you're looking that up. I'll tell the audience something now. There was a university student who questioned why she was being taught the money system right now that has failed, and she said, "Surely there's another way of doing what we're doing, and we can do it the right way." And her teacher at university, who happened to be the master teacher at the university, the professor, said, "No, there isn't. This is the way we do it." And she said, "But it's flawed. It's awful. It doesn't work." And she went on to cite the same flaws that we're about to mention. So I'd like you to listen very carefully to all of the things we'll mention here. And she I think she went up against them, against the education system, saying, "Well, why can't we make a different one? Oh, but it's the one we use. But if it doesn't work, why are we still using it?" And she was stonewalled everywhere she went. So I'll hand it back to Mekki again. I think he might be giving me a thumbs up, showing me that he's found the author.
No, I haven't.
But
we have the link, of course.
Yeah.
No, he's not mentioned.
Oh,
the author's not mentioned.
Fair
So.
enough. All right.
So, but nonetheless, it was research that was largely conducted by someone else, so we don't want to take credit for it, of course. But I feel that we do need to share the information with you because this is a non-monetary thing for us. The site itself is licensed under a Commons licensing agreement. You might be familiar with it. My own blog is that as well. Creative Commons, you might have heard of it. So essentially what it means is you can quote from it, but you cannot make a buck of it. Right? So you can also quote all my stuff, but you can't make a buck of it unless you want to give me some of it. So since we are not making any money on this, the Creative Commons license does apply to us.
Yep.
And we're going to share the information with you. I want to quickly paste this in for you.
We'll direct you to their link so that you're able to gain this as well.
Correct. So I'm pasting it in for you now so you can follow it up yourself and have a look at it. It's z.org, XAT. So please do have a look. So now let's get into it though, because this is we've as I said, we shared with you the official line to some extent. Later, once we finish the history, we will also share some articles with you that are written by economists. Fascinating stuff. Now, the website stipulates that money appeared around the world around the same time. Oddly enough, right? It seems to have come about unconnected. It sprang up in various parts of the world, and what they're giving here as an example is the American Indians using wampum, West Africans trading in decorative metallic objects that were called manillas, and the Fijian economy that was based on whale's teeth, and some of which are still, believe it or not, legal tender. And you can add to that shells, amber, ivory, decorative feathers, cattle, a large number of stones that include jade and quartz, and they've all been used as proxy trade items across the world for a long time. Okay,
we've mentioned that
so you understand
as well.
Correct, exactly right. So there's essentially like a plethora of different ways to express money. Now that money, for the most part, has an intrinsic value. Okay, which means it's commodity money. Right? What we have today is called fiat currency, which means that it has zero intrinsic value. Okay, so that is really the problem that we have today. The money that we have has no value whatsoever. Now, this is the President James Madison. I want to quote him to you. History records that the money changers have used every form of abuse, intrigue, deceit, and violent means possible to maintain their control over governments by controlling money and its issuance. Okay? This is very important to realize. This is exactly what has happened. And we're going to talk, and we've spoken to some extent about this, but it's important to realize that the money system that we have today allows for people to be parasites. It allows for people not to do anything as long as they sit on enough money. What is money? Well, money is just stuff that governments print. But they don't, in America specifically, they don't print it themselves. They get the Federal Reserve to print it. Which means it's not even their money. They just, create these bonds, government bonds, give them to the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve then, which is privately owned, mostly by Europeans, which is hilarious, is then, it's not owned by you guys. It's owned by the Federal Reserve, right? They issue your money. No, okay. It's a private business. That is really, really important. And wars have been fought, and depressions have been caused in the battle over who issues the money. Now, lots of us, and in fact the majority of us, are not aware of this, and you really have to, because it is such a common thing, Dave, and this is what I'm trying to break down here. I'm trying to break through the fact that we're trying to get to the people and questioning something that is just commonplace. It's like breathing to us. Exactly. Second nature, like walking, right? Using money is not something amazing. It's just, it's accepted reality. It's consensus reality. Break down the barriers, guys. Accept that it is not a given. The way we live is not the way we should live. Just because we're doing something doesn't mean it's the right thing. Just because we've been doing something for a long time doesn't mean it's the right thing. Exactly. It just means it's something we've done for a long time, right? You understand, right?
That's the only measurement of it.
Great.
It doesn't mean it's good or bad, but when you discover it's bad, why don't we change it?
Yes. Exactly. So it's not broken, right? So, but what we have allowed to happen is for us to become bonded by our society. We have a very limited view on the world, because think about it this way, and I will want to go into the history. We're born, we grow up, we learn language that our parents speak to us, then we live in the society, we're going to school. In school they tell us how to be a good citizen. Then, ideally you learn a trade or craft, or you go to university and learn something there, and you can start a career, you start making money, right? You start making money, because all of our early life in school and university and even learning a trade is geared toward making money. That's what it is. The single purpose of a corporation, arguably the most powerful entity in the world, is to make money. That's what a corporation does, make money. It doesn't want to produce good goods. It doesn't want to produce quality outcomes. It doesn't want to care about the environment. It doesn't want to create jobs. All of that is irrelevant. The only thing it wants to do is create more money.
They're side effects of the true drive, which is money.
Correct. Correct. Everything is. I mean, if there were no workers necessary, if everything could be done by machines, the factory owners would be. It would be. They would be the happiest people. In fact, in Japan, it largely is, right? And not only that, but sometimes machines are too expensive. So let's go to the place in the world where it's the cheapest for us to produce. Do they care about the people? No. Apple produces things or buys things of producers in countries where they treat their workers horribly, right, Dave?
Nike do.
Yep. I mean, every large corporation pretty much follows this profit principle. Okay, this is how it works, and this is the final consequence of the money system. It's the final consequence to create more and more of this money. You ask, what is this money? Well, it's a good question, and it doesn't actually represent anything. It doesn't have any, like I said, intrinsic value. It's imaginary for the most part. And as we have learned, the United States and the UK only need to keep 3% of their money supply in actual issuable currency.
Repeat it. 3% of what?
3%. Okay, so the reserve that the banks are using in the United States and the UK to lend against only has to be 3%. So if you have $100, the banks are allowed to use 97 of those dollars to lend out. They only have to keep $3 in reserve in case you want to go and get your money.
Wow.
Okay, that's the official figure for the US and the UK today. Other countries, it's 10%, 20%. US and UK, 3%. I mean, what's might as well not have a reserve.
Exactly.
Who cares?
And
3%.
Mickey, we talked about this before. A currency can become worthless. So just for one example here is if it did become worthless and you're holding a piece of paper in your hand, flapping it about, going, it was $100. Well, if it wasn't a piece of paper and was actually something that was worth money, like gold, for instance, or silver or something like that you could use then to trade, because it has an actual value itself, in itself, intrinsic value, then you'd be okay.
Yes.
But it doesn't. And the whole point of our show's series on this is to point that out to you.
Correct. And you know what's funny? In Australia, we've moved to plastic money, right? So plastic notes, no longer paper. So you can't even use it for toilet paper anymore. Let's take it even
doesn't
further.
do a good job, I'll tell you, Mickey.
No. So I want to quote you a paragraph from the website that we. While we might feel powerless in trying to stop the manipulation of money for private profit at our expense, it is easy to forget that we collectively give money its value. It is easy to forget that we collectively give money its value. We have been taught to believe printed pieces of paper have special value, and because we know others believe this too, we are willing to work all our lives to get what we are convinced others will want.
Mm-hmm.
Others will want.
Because do you really want it?
Well, the thing is this. People go nuts over money. It's the truth. You know why the FBI was founded?
No. Go on.
The FBI was founded to stop bank robbers. That was why the FBI was founded in the first place. You might not know this. The Federal Bureau of Investigation had as its main agenda, its main point of its charter was to stop bank robbers, because they would rob a bank in one state and go to another, couldn't be prosecuted, so they had to make it a federal crime, which they did. Yep. And trust me, most of the FBI's early resources, I don't know the numbers now, were devoted to stopping bank robbers. Look at the movies. In fact, if you look at the movies that have to do with the FBI, the early ones, they are all bank robbers. The FBI is going after bank robbers.
Wow.
Not mass murderers. Yeah? Bank robbers. That's very important. You have to understand that the entire system is to protect the elite. The entire system exists only to protect laws that apply to you and me are there to protect the elite and the money.
Not us.
It is not. This is it. No, not us. I mean, in fact, if you have enough money, the laws don't even apply to you.
Exactly.
They become irrelevant. Yeah, look, I mean, Kissinger is wanted for war crimes in The Hague. Is he ever going to be prosecuted? Not likely. Okay. Not likely, but nonetheless, there it is. So you have to understand this. You have to understand how important money is. We take it as a given. We take, like I said, you breathe, you walk, you drink water, you live, you spend money, you have money. Money is only there because we allow it to be there. Mm-hmm. Very important. The Amish get along fine without it. My favorite.
Just fine.
Just fine. Now, the history, and this goes way back, right? We're gonna talk about a little bit about Jesus here. Now, Jesus was very upset by the sight of the money changers in the temple. You might remember this from your Bible study. I made it a point of reading the Quran, the Bible, the Talmud, and various other religious works, because you need to know what you don't believe, right? You need to know about these things in order to have a proper conversation. So essentially, he went in there and he went nuts, right? He tried to drive them out. You know, I think he hit him with a stick or a whip, in fact, and for a long time. The Jews had been called upon to pay their temple tax with a special coin called the half shekel, right? It was a measured half ounce of pure silver with no image of a pagan emperor on it. And this was really the interesting thing. It was to them the only coin acceptable to God. I mean, if you remember, there was a guy that came to Jesus and said, "Oh, I don't want to pay taxes to the Romans." And Jesus said very wisely, "Well, show me the gold that you have there." So the guy gave him the gold coins and said, so Jesus said, well, whose picture is on these gold coins? And the guy said, well, this is the Emperor of Rome. Right. Now give Rome what is Rome's and give God what is God's. So obviously the picture of the Roman emperor is on the coin, so therefore it is the Roman emperor's money.
That's
right? Very simple. It's a very sage thing to say. Now, however, there was only a limited number of those special coins in circulation, right? So the money changers were in a buyer's market, and like anything else that's in short supply, they were able to raise the price, and that's really what Jesus was upset about. Because if you wanted to make a temple donation, you had to use the special half shekel, which did not have the image of a pagan emperor on it, right? So it's actually God's money, if you will, right? And those are the money lenders that the Bible is talking about, or the money changers, I should say. Sorry, not money lenders, money changers. And they made massive profits because they had a monopoly, right? And Jesus saw that as stealing from the people, and he was appalled by the entire operation and called them a den of thieves, which is true, right? I mean, these are people that are charging horrendous amounts of money for a special coin that the devout would use to make offerings. Okay. Now, however, so once money is accepted as a form of exchange, those who produce it, loan it, and manipulate the quantity of money are obviously in a very strong position. They are the money changers, and this is really the point of the story. Whoever controls the supply of money, and Rothschild said this, controls the fate of nations. It is irrelevant if you issue the law. It is irrelevant if you even sit in the courts or you own the legal system. Irrelevant. You, who controls the money, is in charge. That's how it is. That's the truth, and it's always been. Because for the most part, people are stupid. I don't care if they're in charge of things, if they're in power, if they're prime ministers, presidents, kings, queens, it doesn't matter. And they're greedy. Yeah. And the money changers, the money lenders, the money people, they are not loyal to anyone but themselves. They are sitting on the fence. They're supporting everybody. In the Napoleonic Wars, they were supporting both the British and the French. Both. Because, someone is going to win. They're not going to lose. And they're going to get their money back from either side. Either through reparations or just interest payments. Oh, is that right? Sorry, Dave just tells me Richard Rockefeller died in a plane crash.
Yep, I found that. Yep. I found that. It wasn't Rothschild. It was a Rothschild daughter that went missing. But it was Rockefeller that passed away.
Well, the Rockefellers are connected to the Rothschilds, same as the Warburgs and so forth. So they're all living in the Rothschilds' pockets. Yeah. Okay, so you understand now that this greed is as old as we are, and if you create this token, this money that we call it, and give it value because of a belief. It's a belief. There's no other reason why this money has value, because again, we're living in a fiat currency in society. There is no value to it except for the value we give it, and we believe it has. It used to be that there was money was tied to something. No longer true. It is just tied to itself, to the market forces, whatever that might be, and we'll talk about that later. Okay, so medieval England, right? This is about 1,000 years ago. Excuse me. Again, history of money. Now, and we've spoken about this at length. Essentially, goldsmiths used to have strong boxes, right? Because obviously they needed to keep their silver and gold and precious stones in a safe place, because obviously thieves were abundant, and they would try to get robbed and try to take the money and the gold, the gold and the silver away from the goldsmiths. So they had a strong box, a safe for all intents and purposes. So people that had valuables themselves would go to these goldsmiths and say, "Oh, Mr. Goldsmith, can you please look after my stuff as well?"
You have
look,
a secure
I can do that.
facility. May I use it?
Yeah, essentially correct, right? So what they would do is and they would write him a letter, a note, if you will, a bond that would say, Mr. Jonas has given me, 2 gold pieces, and I will keep them for him. And this piece of paper certifies that he has, in fact, these 2 gold pieces in my safe. Great. Now, so far, so good. That's pretty okay, right? That doesn't matter. I want to give you a caveat here, and I don't want to vilify anyone, but I want to explain to you why certain things happen. Back in medieval times, Jews were not allowed to own land. Okay? A Jew could not own land in Europe. It was against the law. So what do Jews then do? And there were lots of them, right? Well, they had to go to trades, right? Because they can't work the land, they can't be landowners, they can't have people working on their land because they have no land. So they become tradesmen. Okay? They become goldsmiths, for argument's sake, right? So there was a disproportionately high number of Jewish people in the goldsmith's trade. Okay? This is not inherently the Jewish people's fault, because, like I said, they were not allowed to own land. Okay? Very, very important. So people that try to spin this on a racial thing say, "Oh, the Jews are evil, they do this and that." No. In fact, the one people in this world that have suffered the most out of everybody are probably the Jews. Okay? They have suffered the most. And trust me, that some people that happen to be Jewish and happen to be part of the elite have taken great advantage of that. Okay? The Rothschilds, yes, they are of Jewish origin, but I guarantee you, they have very little concern for the Jewish people. Okay? Unless it serves their purpose. Okay, so I hate it when people start vilifying a certain racial or ethnic group, because chances are you're wrong. Okay, you're wrong about that. So please do not make that generalization about all Jews. Okay,
Or
it's not
anyone
true.
for that matter.
Or anyone. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, it simply isn't true. You have to understand the history, and you have to understand why certain things happen. So if the law in Europe had been different at that time, maybe Amschel Bauer, because his name was Bauer, not Rothschild, would have been a farmer or a landowner or who knows what, and not a goldsmith. Okay, just putting that out there. Okay, so those paper receipts, because they're easier to carry than gold, it's heavy, right, or silver, soon became popular for trade, because again, easy to exchange notes for goods rather than pieces of gold for goods, right? It's also a little bit safer, I guess. Now, after a while, though, the goldsmiths probably noticed that only a small percentage of the depositors or the people that asked them to put money into their safe came to get it out, to get their gold out at any given time. So there would be gold just sitting there, maybe for months, maybe even for years, without doing anything. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So then what the goldsmiths did, they made out receipts for gold which didn't exist. They made out receipts for gold that didn't exist. So like, I'm Joe Average, going to the goldsmith. I'm really short on funds. What can we do? This is a crafty goldsmith, and he goes, "Well, you know what? Here you go. I'll give you one of these receipts that I normally give to people that put gold into my safe. Just use that as trading. But if you do that, you have to pay me back 20% more than I've given you." I'm just making up a number here, right? So here's a receipt that says that you've got gold in my safe. You don't actually have gold in my safe, but I say you do. But when you come to pay me back, you have to pay me back more than I'm giving you, even though I'm not giving you anything, right? I'm just giving you a piece of paper. But at least that piece of paper is tied to some real value in the safe. Okay, and this eventually became the banking system. Okay, it's a very rudimentary system. It's a very simple concept, really, and it's entirely fraudulent. It's what's called usury, the charging of interest, which is prohibited by the Bible, and it's prohibited to Muslims as well. That's why Islamic banks have a hard time trading, I guess. But they trade fundamentally different to Western banks. It's interesting to deal with an Islamic bank. You're not allowed to charge interest, okay, according to the Bible and the Quran. Okay, so it now has become a banking system, and over time, And maybe to make it more acceptable, rather than calling it outright fraud, it was called fractional reserve banking. Okay? So essentially what that means is you're lending out more money than you have assets in your safe. You're lending out more money than you actually hold in value. And these days,
Mickey, can I interrupt with this, right? So if the Reserve Bank, for instance, is going to issue, let's just use round numbers,
yep,
$1 billion. If they issue $1 billion to a country, where do they put it? They don't give it to everyone. There's not a big line, there's not a big queue. They don't hand out, $100 each or whatever it is. They don't, divide it up by the amount of people and just give it to people to spend. No, it goes into an account, and they can lend more than they've got.
Yes.
And this is the beauty of this, in one way, is that you don't need much money to have a thriving... If you have two banks and you lend money to the other bank, they can lend out more money. And none of it's real.
Yep.
And so on and so forth until you've got a booming population with money, flowing out of all their pockets. The problem is, it's not the run on banks issue, which we spoke about in the last one, is that, in fact, there isn't any actual money. We've been in this country and in yours and everyone listening, we were originally told that we don't have enough in savings, that we're all just using too much borrowed money, which is really weird.
Yep.
Really weird about that, because if we're using too much borrowed money, why? Who's going to be doing the borrowing then, if we're not borrowing? So please save money. So as soon as we started putting money in, they get 10 times the amount of money to borrow again, to lend out.
Yep.
And that was one of the big faults. And we didn't know this at the time. I wasn't driving down the fractional lending road, and I had no clue when I was looking at it. But now that I know that it's happening, I view this completely differently.
No, I agree with you. In fact, sorry, while you were saying this as well, Dory said something very interesting in the Dory Bar, I should say. Sorry, said something very interesting in the chat room, and there's actually a really lively discussion going on in the chat room. So I do urge you all to go in there, and I do apologize. I haven't been able to keep my eye on the chat room because obviously we've been trying to talk through our show notes. But essentially, Dory Bar is right. We are operating under naval law. Okay, or law of the sea, if you will. And we will have a show on this and explain to you why that is. It also depends. It's also important how you write your name in legal documents, guys. It is important how you write your name in legal documents. If it's all caps or in lowercase, all of these things are important. You don't know this, but it is the truth. In fact, we are still under the law of the sea, which puts Great Britain, the Empire of Great Britain, in charge. So we are all in servitude, essentially, to the City of London. The City of London, not London, the city, but the City of London, which is like a square mile of the financial district.
But
there,
what does that advantage give them if we're under that law?
Well, you can seize assets, for one. It's a lot easier, like, the bounty of the sea. But I will put some more materials together to explain to you guys what that actually means. The problem, though, is, of course, that it makes it a lot easier for slavery that we live in right now to occur, and it gives away legal rights or entitlements that you have under natural or common law. Okay, but again, this is a different show, and it's slightly off topic, but it is connected to this.
You're right,
thank you, Dory Bar.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I had actually I knew about this, but I had not linked it to this particular topic, which of course is where it belongs. So thank you very much for bringing that up. Now, sorry, let's keep going with this fractional reserve lending history. So we understand now the origin to some extent, right? We understand why people started, having tokens because it's just easier. And unfortunately, under the guise of easier, we have given away more and more of our sovereignty. I'm going to make a slight departure into the future here. We have given away gold coinage because paper is easier. We've given away gold-backed paper currency Because it's easier just to have a free floating currency. You know, we all believe it's worth something that's great, so it's just easier. You know, things became easier. We've given away actual currency in our wallet for credit cards because it's easier, right? And what's going to happen next? Oh, the next step was chips. Like a microchip. I no longer have to sign for my credit card. I go to a shop, I got a microchip in my credit card, I tap against the counter, there's a little register there, and if it's less than $100, I can just go. So, boom, tapped, yep, approved. So up to $100, I don't have to identify myself in any which way, I don't have to sign, don't have to have a PIN, nothing, right? So, the next step here, because this is obviously a fraud with danger, right? Yeah. People will steal a credit card, and before they can be stopped, they probably have racked up, several dozen transactions worth $100. You know, it's easy enough to do, I guess. So the next step, of course, is to get rid of the credit card. Oh, geez, what are we going to do then? Well, how about this? How about we put a chip in your hand? Sound familiar?
Let's do that, because if the chip, bingo, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, or something like that. Because guess what? They have to chop your hand off to get to the chip or something like that, right? So we are giving up more and more and more. And then I'm not one for prophecy, but all of this has been foreseen, guys, right? All of this is not new. It is. And in fact, no man, or in fact, I think the exact words were something like this. I'm, free-forming here. No man shall do business without having received the mark of the beast on his forehead or in his right hand.
Yes.
Okay. Now, specifically, do business. Specifically, you have to be included in commerce. You had to receive the mark of the beast, not the number of the beast, the mark of the beast, right? Yeah. Whatever that might be, and it might be the microchip. Who knows? I don't know. But the point is, the safest place, for a microchip would be on your body. So maybe, hey, it's a good idea to get chipped. No, it's not. It is a terrible idea to get chipped. For various reasons. We now have to talk about slightly more spiritual things, but there's actually an energy body that surrounds you, right? And who knows how that chip is going to influence that? And do you really want to be pinpointable at all times? And who knows what the GPS capabilities of that particular chip are, and so on and so forth. And it's never a good thing to introduce a foreign object into your body. In fact, part of the abduction ritual is well, that's the thing, right? It is already part of the abduction ritual to be chipped, Dave. I mean, you can speak about that, right?
Yeah, completely. Look, all I'm going to say is, have you realized how free you feel when you're in a place that has no mobile communications, no mobile towers, no RF, nothing? You feel free. Now, it's not free just from communications, but your mind can think. It's almost like all of this stuff is just to box us in and to put us on the treadmill. So
correct.
Now, all I'm going to say is 1984, this is an image going around Facebook, 1984 was not an instruction manual. It isn't. It was a warning. But it was used as an instruction manual. So I think what I need to do is write a book about how we turned all of this around. As frightening as that may seem, as frightening as 1984 was, I think we should do this. We should write at how we, from this date forward, we were able to change it back to being a free place with lots of happy, smiling people everywhere. Because it seems so unlikely that that's going to happen now.
You're right.
Let all this stuff happen to us, haven't we, Mackie?
We have, and then look, the thing is this: the powers out there, they know you have to get to people early. You have to get to the children. Okay, and you can do that via the educational systems that are in place today. You go to a school when you're 6, maybe 5, maybe 7 years old, very impressionable, very naive, and once you've got that rolling, once your parents have actually gone through the schooling system and their parents have gone through the schooling system and so on and so forth, it just becomes the truth, right? It just becomes the way we live, and everything you learn in school, you learn very soon. If you're critical or question things, you realize that what we learn in school is in fact not the way it is. Okay, but we are being turned into essentially little civic robots. That's what we are. We are meant to function within the society, and whenever little Johnny or little Mary does something wrong, the parents are called in. Oh, he or she is displaying antisocial behavior.
Yeah.
What? They were standing up for themselves. They were talking in class. They're freaking 6 years old. Pardon my French. 6 years old, 7 years old.
That's right. But we have one nip it in the bud.
Yes.
Now, Meki, let's trend this out for 1 second, right? Trend it out. I'm standing on my soapbox. We trend out. We trend out chipping, and how awesome would all be. We trend it out, and the moment the machines are sentient, what a waste of space we're going to be. And do you want them to be able to know where you are? Good luck with that. Right? So, I think that we'd be mistaken to think that the combination of technology into the human body, we're mistaken to think that's a good idea.
Yep.
I think that keeping it separate on a device that you can turn off would be a good thing, but leaving it on something that certainly can identify you where you are, I think we lose our anonymity. I think our cultures do well in small, groups of people. I think it's pretty tough to suggest that that's going to be a good thing. I'm sorry, I'm stepping down. I'm stepping down.
No.
Back to fractional lending.
And I think that's look, it's important to make these points. I'm with you, in fact. By the way, so you can see the development of the future. You can see where this is going, right?
Yeah.
If you've read anything, in fact, you should read 1984 and A Brave New World.
Brave New World,
and
especially.
And we can already see it with the over medication of the population. We're giving children Ritalin. Why? Oh, he's running around too much. Right. How old is he? 7. You just gave him sugar, right? Now he's running around too much. Okay.
Well, he's a child.
It's insane.
They should be children while they're children.
Well, that's the thing. And we are trying very early to turn them into conformists. Very, very early. In fact, you will do well in the society if you're a conformist. You will do well at uni. And I went there. Trust me, you will do well if you just repeat whatever they tell you. If you challenge, well, good luck to you. You will do very poorly. In fact, you will do very poorly if you challenge in school. You must toe the party line all the way. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the kind of behavior we are instilling in our children today. Because I've always, and sorry to digress, because we really want to get through this topic, but I've always wondered, right? In the past, you had geniuses like, let's say, Einstein or Aristotle or Plato or Newton, and they were, they were geniuses for the time, and there were a number of them, and I can give you a whole bunch of those guys. Now, and the population base was a lot lower. It was under 1 billion when those guys were alive. Mm-hmm. Under 1 billion, right? Now we are around 7 billion.
Yep.
Approaching 8, not quite. In 2020 we'll be at 7.78 billion according to projections, which is, by the way, when we mark the next event for the hypothesis. Anyway, so my question is, why don't we have an equal amount of geniuses, or at least based on our population density, that we had then? Because back then we had a lot of geniuses, and today I don't think we have any more in total volume than we had then, maybe less. But we have a lot more people.
Yeah.
So what something is amiss here, and what's amiss? That a number of things. Number one, educational system. We no longer allow people to imagine, to dream, to create. Okay, our educational system is actually moving away from that. 2, we over-medicate. The food we eat are unfoods. They are unfoods. They're not real foods. Okay, they're food-like products. Okay, well, they're not food.
You raised a good point. They're food-like, and food-like means that they're not food, and even bacteria don't grow on food-like products.
If you take it. I hate to say this, but take it. I have to take a McDonald's hamburger.
Yes.
Take a McDonald's hamburger.
Yep.
Do it, because we did it by accident. So we took one, and we thought it'd be funny at work to put it into the drawer of this guy, right? Or just for a joke, right? After a while, we hoped it would stink, right? We forgot about it. After a year, 1 year, we took it out. It didn't look any different, and there was no mold on it.
Yep.
Like, so Dave, you're right. There's no bacterial growth at all, none. And we looked at it and go, well, we could heat it up and eat it. Yeah, we wouldn't, right? But so it's plastic. It's a food like Not a very good facsimile, but it's a food-like product which we shove into our bodies. In fact, if the safest way is to eat what your grandparents ate, or your great-grandparents, depending on how old you are.
This show is
That's
now
the safest
sponsored
way.
by McDonald's.
I don't want to pick on McDonald's
No,
specifically.
we're not. We're just saying. I came up with an idea, Mackie, which was that we should pass a law. If I was president, I would pass a law that said that you can only produce food, not food like anything.
Yes.
It would have to be food, otherwise forget it.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm with you. No Franken chicken, no near food experience. Ooh, I've had a near food experience. I saw an egg. Really? Are you sure? And it's the way again. But again, bring it back to why this is happening.
Yeah.
Profit.
That's right.
Profits. We are producing more and cheaper because we want to make more money. Yes, that's right. We want to make more money. We don't want to sell people a better product. We don't want to sell people something that's better for them. No, we want to make more money.
In fact,
how do I make more money? Go on.
In fact, high margin products, not low margin products. High margin products are now replacing low margin products in all of your retail outlets.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to sell low margin stuff anymore. They just don't. In fact, it annoys them to have to sell so much low margin product.
Yep. Oh, I've got a great example for that. Do you remember HP? And I hate to mention names here, but HP went out of the PC market, right?
Yep.
Do you remember that? We no longer make PCs. Do you know why? Because it's probably the lowest margin product in the IT market.
That's right. It's the actual
it is
PC.
1 or 2% profit on a PC or laptop. Very, very tiny profit. I know this because I'm in the business. Right? It's a very low margin product. So, we're going to be out of it. Of course, they flip-flopped and, they went back into it, so nobody believes anything they say anymore. But the point is, people want to be in high margin, and ideally, high margin, high return products. When I say high return, I mean, you buy it for a lot of money and it'll break, or it's used up, or it's a fashion item, and then something new comes in. That's what you want. You want a high turn, or maybe even not even high turnover, but a high change rate.
It's called fast products.
Fast products, correct,
fast,
sir. Yeah.
Fast with an F. So fast fashion, fast food.
Yes.
It's made, delivered, and it's resold again. You have to buy more of it, like coffee. Yeah, that's also a fast product.
Yeah. Now, Tremjar in the chat room, I just want to quickly answer this because it is important, and we don't have too much time left, and there's no way we're going to get through the show notes anyway.
We're going to ban it. It'll be part 4 for sure.
Yeah, so Tremjar asked a very important question. So thank you, Tremjar. So how do you get rid of money when everything you need requires money? That's an excellent question, and the answer is revolution, but not a physical revolution with guns and grenades, but a revolution in thinking. And we see it, in fact, in smaller communities as well. So we have to actually change our way of life, believe it or not. We have to change the way we live. The big city living that we have come accustomed to is, number one, not natural to us, and number two, is actually contributing to our demise. Human beings are built, if you will, to live in smallish communities, in villages, if you will. Right? That's ideal for us. Because for a number of reasons, we function better in that kind of environment. And look, a big city is nice and interesting once in a while, but it usually has detrimental effects on a person's spirit, psyche, and physical well-being. City life is not good for us in many ways. Okay, especially in industrial city with cars and factories and so forth. But
there's no supporting food source in acreage for a city to be self-sufficient.
Correct.
Whereas a small community,
that is exactly right.
So a small community can produce more than is required for their own community. But then they'll wind that back to just what's required. Yeah.
Look, exactly. And now we have to ask ourselves, and this goes to Tremjar's point around power and gas and so forth, right? You have to ask yourself, well, why are we paying for a whole bunch of stuff?
That's right.
So let me put it this way. And I know this is going to draw a long bow, but I need to do this. If we're living in a country, our country has a number of natural resources, right? and I'm talking people here. Could be food, it could be minerals and iron ore. Well, it doesn't really matter what it is, but we have natural resources. They, by definition, they should belong to all of us. They should belong to all of us. So we should all be able to partake in them equally. And I'm not talking communism here, because communism doesn't work. Human nature doesn't allow it to work. Okay? So, but because these resources and the means of production of those resources have been cornered in a monopoly by the few, we pay for those things. We pay for water now. Water, really?
In the 80s,
we are the first.
In the 80s, paying for water was seen to be a completely outrageous. So for Evian,
Yeah.
water, by the elite. You would.
Yeah.
Why would you buy water, right?
Yeah.
And it was.
Well, the thing is this:
the oil giant mining, the oil guy from Texas said that'll be the next thing. We'll be able to sell water, and he made that happen.
Yeah.
It's more expensive.
And
than
in fact,
petrol.
it is. And in fact, it's more expensive to produce. It's actually really detrimental to the environment to produce like water the way we consume it in bottles, plastic bottles. But the thing is this: our water quality has become so bad, fluoride and other things as well in our water supply, that it's almost impossible to drink that water unless you filter it.
Yeah.
But not only that, you're paying for a whole bunch of things that, in my opinion, should be free. Because we're all part of a franchise community. We're all part of what we call Australia, if you will, like this mystical entity, and we all partake in it equally, but we don't. That's the problem. We don't partake in it equally. We've created a society of division. We've created a society of levels, layers, and castes, in fact, if you want, right?
Yep.
We have different castes, and this has been going on for a long time. This is not the way we meant to live. We are all meant to take part in this equally. So, Tremjar, look, I understand that I have to pay my mortgage, I have to pay for power and other things. I agree. What we are challenging is the fundamental notion of living like this. And I know it's not easy, but guess what? Our way of life is doomed. We spoke about this before. Our way of life will come to an end because it is built on a false and flawed premise. That premise is infinite growth. We don't live in a system of infinite growth. It can't happen. Okay, eventually it'll just tumble and destroy itself. And at that point it'll be catastrophic. It'd be much easier to bring about a revolutionary change in thinking, which leads to an evolution. The revolutionary change in thinking will lead to an evolutionary change of living. So we need to go back to a way of life which is self-sustaining. No, I'm not a pinko greeny hippie. Okay, I'm just a concerned citizen. And I know it is hard. It's very difficult because all our life we've been taught different. Just make more money, look after your own, you'll be fine. Everybody else, who cares? And this is fundamentally a different way of thinking. And I know it is what it is. But by saying, Tremja, it is what it is, we are giving in. We have already lost. If we say, you know what, it's what it is. And I know this is an extreme example. Yeah, and you're right. It's the Matrix. It's absolutely the Matrix. It is what it is. So I know you can change. But if everybody had said back in 1939, well, it is what it is. Let the Nazis do what they want. There were people in opposition. In every country that they occupied. There were people in opposition in Germany. Yes, for the most part, they were killed. I understand that. But we can't accept something like this, and by simply saying it is what it is. Because we might as well just lie down and die. It is over if we have that attitude. Each one of us can make a change. And I'm not saying that we can make a massive change individually, but we can make little changes in our lives for the better. That's what I believe. We need to do the right thing. We must stop living an unsustainable life. We must stop living the Harvard Business School dream, because it's a nightmare. It's not a dream, it's a nightmare. And we'll wake up from it and we'll realize, it wasn't a dream at all. It was reality all along. And it will crumble very, very quickly. When the system comes down, guys, it'll happen very quickly.
And it won't,
I don't know what the trigger
is. It won't be good for the majority of people. That's the problem with the collapse of the financial system. The only thing that the financial system supports are the people at the top.
Yeah,
that's all it does. Yeah,
it's the entire system is built for them. It is just like in the Matrix. Those guys in the Matrix, They were just batteries for the robots. Let's take the analogy here a bit further. So all of us only exist to support the elite. That's it. The entire system was only set up to maintain the status quo. Yeah, we see changes, we see revolutions, we see wars. I guarantee you the same people remain in power. I don't care if you paint it red, green, or blue. I don't care if you call it communism, national socialism, democracy, capitalism, I said fascism. No, I haven't said fascism. Fascism or social. I don't care what you call the system. Any ism. I don't care. It'll be the same people. And you know, on a smaller level, on our level, they're called functionaries. Okay, because they'll switch and twist and turn. I know this for a fact because my grandparents knew them. They were Nazis one day and communists the next. You know, as soon as that. And the elite is the same. In fact, the elite doesn't give a hoot about any of those isms. Okay, none. This is for us. This is to keep us divided. Yeah, they know what they're doing. They know us. They know our basic psychology. Yes, you know. Anyway, look, we're almost at the top of the hour. Sorry, or bottom, I should say. The bottom. We're at the bottom of the bottom.
The bottom of the hour is the half past.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're at the top of the hour. Beautiful. So next week, we're going to share tally sticks with you guys. Tally sticks.
Tally sticks. Looking forward to that. For everyone out there, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget, follow us on your preferred medium. Look for Shiny Side Out. We'll catch you next week. Bye now.
All right. See ya.